Why are you here? I didn't expect to find my Apache neighbor washing dishes in my kitchen. Their life followed a routine almost like clockwork. Wake up early, go to work, come home, make a small dinner, watch a show, and then sleep. Living alone in a quiet suburban neighborhood suited them perfectly. There was comfort in knowing what to expect, in the small familiarity of their life. The same neighbors waved occasionally across the street. The same delivery person brought parcels every week, and even the trees in their front yard seemed to sway in a gentle rhythm that echoed the calmness of their days. It was late autumn, and the sun had long disappeared behind gray clouds, leaving the streets under a soft, dim light. Alex had just returned from another long day at work. Their job was demanding, filled with meetings, deadlines, and constant pressure. As they unlocked the door and stepped inside, they sighed in relief, glad to be home where no one was waiting for them, where silence was their friend. But today, something was different. As soon as Alex entered, a soft sound reached their ears, a faint clinking of dishes and a low hum. It was coming from the kitchen. At first, they thought they were imagining it. Maybe it was the wind or the old pipes making noise. But as they walked closer, the sound became clearer. Someone was washing dishes. Confused, Alex slowed down. Their kitchen light was on, casting a warm glow on the tiles, and there in front of the sink was Maya, their neighbor. She was an Apache woman who lived next door. Alex had seen her many times, exchanged brief greetings over the fence, or waved hello from the driveway, but they had never spent more than a few minutes talking to her. And now she was calmly washing dishes in Alex's kitchen. For a moment Alex froze, unsure of what to do or say. "Maya," they asked cautiously, their voice tinged with disbelief. What are you doing here?" Maya turned her head, a gentle smile spreading across her face. She did not seem surprised, nor did she look embarrassed. Instead, there was a calmness about her, a serenity that made Alex's shock feel almost silly. "Hi, Alex," she said softly. "I thought you might need a hand." Alex blinked, still unsure how to respond. Their heart was beating faster, not out of fear, but out of confusion and a bit of embarrassment. I mean, I didn't expect you to be in my kitchen," they stammered, stepping closer. Their mind raced through possibilities. Had someone broken in? Was this a prank? But there was no sign of danger, no tension in Maya's posture, no hint of anything threatening. She was simply washing dishes, humming a tune so quiet that it almost blended with the background. Maya noticed Alex's hesitation and laughed softly, a sound that was both warm and comforting. "I saw you struggling earlier," she explained, turning the faucet slightly to rinse a plate. "You looked like you had too much on your hands, and I thought, why not help? I hope you don't mind." Alex's shock slowly began to turn into curiosity. They had always known Maya to be kind from their brief interactions, but this was something unexpected. I don't know what to say," Alex admitted. "I didn't expect anyone to just come in and start helping." Maya shrugged, still smiling. "Sometimes people need a little help, that's all. Nothing strange about it." Her words were simple, but they carried a quiet wisdom. There was no judgment, no insistence, just an offer extended in a way that felt natural, unforced. As Alex watched her work, they noticed small details. The way she handled each dish with care, the gentle rhythm of her movements, the way she seemed to find peace in a simple task that most people might consider ordinary or mundane. There was a quiet dignity in what she was doing, a reminder that sometimes the smallest acts of care could carry the most meaning. Alex finally managed to find their voice, a little steadier now. I guess I just wasn't expecting this. I live alone, so, well, I handle things myself." Maya turned to look at them, her eyes kind but steady. "And that's good, but even strong people sometimes need a hand. That's what neighbors are for, don't you think?" Her words lingered in the air, and Alex realized there was truth in them. They had always valued independence, believing it was a mark of strength to manage everything alone. But perhaps strength wasn't just about handling everything oneself. Perhaps it also involved allowing others to share the burden, even in small ways. There was a moment of silence, broken only by the faint sound of running water and the occasional clink of a dish. Alex felt a strange mix of emotions: embarrassment, gratitude, and an almost childlike relief that someone cared enough to step in. They found themselves smiling, though it was shy and hesitant at first. "You really didn't have to do this," Alex said finally, their voice softer now. "But thank you," Maya nodded, returning the smile. "I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because I could, and sometimes that's enough." For the first time in a long while, Alex felt a sense of connection, something they hadn't realized was missing from their carefully organized life. It wasn't about grand gestures or dramatic events. It was about a neighbor noticing, a hand offered without expectation, and a small act that reminded them that even in a life built around routines and independence, there was room for kindness and human warmth. As the evening progressed, Alex and Maya talked while the dishes were washed and put away. They shared stories, small laughter, and quiet reflections. Alex learned a little about Maya's life, about her heritage and the community she came from, where helping others was a natural part of living. Maya, in turn, learned about Alex's day, their work, and the challenges of living alone in a bustling, often isolating world. By the time the kitchen was spotless and the last dish was dried, the initial shock had completely faded. In its place was a sense of comfort, a quiet understanding that this unexpected moment was the start of something meaningful. Alex realized that life could surprise them in small, gentle ways, and sometimes the most profound lessons came from ordinary moments shared with ordinary people, moments like this one, in a kitchen, washing dishes together. As Maya prepared to leave, she looked at Alex and said softly, "Remember, Alex, sometimes it's okay to let someone in, not just into your home, but into your life, even if just a little." Alex nodded, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the evening's tea. They had learned something important today, something simple, yet powerful. Life wasn't meant to be carried alone, and even small gestures could change everything. That night, as Alex locked the door behind Maya and sat quietly at the kitchen table, they couldn't stop thinking about how a simple, unexpected act of kindness had opened a door, not just literally, but to a new perspective on life, friendship, and the human connection that they had unknowingly been missing. For the first time in a long while, Alex felt truly seen, truly understood, and truly connected to the world beyond their own carefully maintained routines. And it all began with a neighbor standing in their kitchen, washing dishes, and reminding them that kindness often arrives when you least expect it. After that unexpected evening in the kitchen, Alex found themselves thinking about Maya constantly. Her calm presence, her gentle smile, and the quiet way she offered help had left a lasting impression. It was not just that she had washed dishes for them. It was the way she had done it, with respect, patience, and an understanding that felt deeper than mere neighborliness. Alex realized that they had lived years in the neighborhood without truly knowing Maya, and now they felt a curious desire to learn more about her. The next weekend, Alex decided to stop by Maya's house. They had never been invited inside before, and now the idea of stepping over the threshold filled them with both excitement and a slight nervousness. Maya greeted them warmly, as if she had been expecting the visit. Her home was simple but beautiful, with touches of nature everywhere: potted plants on the windowsill, handmade crafts on shelves, and soft woven rugs that added warmth to the wooden floor. There was a calmness to the space that reminded Alex of quiet mornings in the forest, a feeling of being far removed from the noise and rush of the city. "Come in, Alex," Maya said, her voice soft but firm. "I thought we could have some tea and talk." Alex nodded, stepping inside. They followed Maya into a small kitchen, much like the one they had shared a few days ago, and sat down at the wooden table. Maya moved around gracefully, preparing a simple tea, and Alex couldn't help but notice the care she put into each movement. There was a rhythm to her actions that seemed natural, unhurried, and yet purposeful. As they sipped their tea, Alex finally found the courage to ask the question that had been on their mind ever since the kitchen incident. "Maya, why are you so different?" Alex said, trying to find the right words. "I don't mean in a bad way, just the way you think about helping, about life. It's not like anything I've seen before." Maya smiled, a thoughtful look in her eyes. "I suppose it comes from where I grew up," she said gently. "I am Apache. My family and our community taught us that life is about more than ourselves. It is about helping each other, caring for one another, and being connected to the people around us." Alex listened intently, fascinated. They had heard of the Apache people before, but they realized now that they knew very little about their culture, their values, or their way of life. "I've always admired independence," Alex admitted. "I think being strong means doing everything on your own, but seeing you, it makes me wonder if I've been thinking about it the wrong way." Maya nodded. "Independence is important, yes, but so is community. We are taught that no one is meant to live in complete isolation. Even the strongest person can benefit from the care of others, and offering care to someone else doesn't make you weaker. It makes you stronger in ways that aren't always visible." Alex thought about that for a moment, their mind wandering to their own life. They had always focused on personal achievements, climbing the ladder at work, maintaining routines, and keeping everything under control. In doing so, they realized they had neglected the simple joy of connection, the warmth that came from helping others and being helped in return. Maya noticed the thoughtful look on Alex's face and smiled again. "Would you like to hear a story?" she asked. "It might explain a little more about why I think the way I do." Alex nodded eagerly. Maya began to speak, her voice soft but steady, like a river flowing over smooth stones. She told the story of her childhood in the reservation, where her family lived in a small house surrounded by vast open land, mountains, and rivers. Life there was simple but challenging. Resources were limited, but what was abundant was the sense of community and mutual care. Everyone helped each other. Neighbors shared food, stories, and even their time when someone needed it. Maya described her parents as the pillars of this community. Her father, a quiet but strong man, taught her how to work with her hands, how to respect the land, and how to always offer help when she could. Her mother, gentle and wise, taught her the value of listening, patience, and understanding. Together, they had instilled in Maya a deep sense of responsibility, not just for herself, but for everyone around her. Alex listened, captivated. They could almost picture the vast, open landscapes Maya described, the golden light of the sun on the mountains, the scent of the earth after rain, and the laughter of children playing freely without worry. It was a world so different from their own, yet the feelings it evoked, belonging, love, care, were universal. "Did it ever feel hard?" Alex asked. "Living in a place where you have to rely on others so much?" Maya shook her head. "Not really. It taught me that asking for help is not weakness, and giving help is not sacrifice. Both are forms of strength. I learned that small acts of care, helping a neighbor carry water, teaching a child to read, or even washing someone's dishes, can ripple through a community in ways we may never fully see." Alex felt a deep sense of admiration. They realized that their earlier surprise in the kitchen wasn't just about the act itself. It was about the mindset, the philosophy behind it. Maya didn't help out of obligation or expectation. She helped because it was part of who she was. That was something Alex had never fully understood. For the next hour, they talked about everything, from childhood memories to simple traditions, from the challenges of balancing work and life to the small joys of nature and community. Alex found themselves laughing at Maya's stories of childhood mischief, amazed at her knowledge of plants and nature, and moved by her reflections on life, family, and the values she held dear. At one point, Alex asked, "Do you ever miss it? The reservation, I mean." Maya paused, her eyes thoughtful. "Sometimes, yes, but I carry it with me wherever I go. It's not about the place, it's about the lessons, the values, and the way I see the world. Those things are with me even here, even in the city, even when washing dishes for a neighbor." Alex nodded slowly, understanding in a way they hadn't before. Life wasn't just about where you lived or what you achieved. It was about how you treated people, how you connected, and how you chose to live day by day. Maya's presence in their life had opened a window into a different way of seeing the world, a way that was patient, compassionate, and deeply human. As the afternoon sun began to dip, casting a warm golden glow through the kitchen window, Alex realized that the visit had changed something inside them. They felt a new sense of calm, a shift in perspective that was subtle but profound. They were beginning to understand that friendship and connection were not things that had to be forced or arranged. Sometimes they arrived naturally, through simple acts, through stories shared, and through time spent truly listening to someone else. Before leaving, Alex thanked Maya, feeling a genuine warmth in their chest. I feel like I've learned so much today, not just about you but about life, about how to see things differently." Maya smiled, placing a gentle hand on Alex's shoulder. "That's good. Remember, Alex, life often teaches its lessons quietly. The most important things are sometimes the simplest. Pay attention and you'll see them everywhere." As Alex walked back to their own home, they thought about what Maya had said. They realized that in a world that often demanded speed, efficiency, and independence, there was incredible value in slowing down, paying attention, and allowing oneself to connect with others. Maya had shown them that true strength was not just in what one could do alone, but in what one could give and receive with trust and openness. That evening, as Alex settled into their quiet apartment, they felt a sense of gratitude they hadn't experienced in a long time. Gratitude not just for Maya's help, but for the reminder that life was bigger than routines, bigger than deadlines, and bigger than solitude. Life, they realized, was made up of small, meaningful connections, the kind that could arrive unexpectedly, like a neighbor washing dishes in your kitchen, and stay with you long after the moment had passed. For the first time, Alex didn't feel alone. They felt seen, understood, and part of something larger than themselves. And as they looked out the window at the street where Maya's house stood next door, they smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning of a friendship and a journey that would teach them more about kindness, community, and the quiet power of living with an open heart. The next morning, Alex woke up with a strange sense of excitement. It wasn't the kind of excitement that came from big events or major plans, but the gentle, lingering kind that stayed in your chest and made you want to see the day differently. They remembered the previous day. Maya, the Apache neighbor they had barely spoken to before, had not only washed their dishes but had shared stories of her childhood, her community, and her values. For the first time in years, Alex felt like someone had opened a new door for them, and they couldn't wait to step through it. Later that day, Alex decided to visit Maya again. They had a question in mind, one that had been forming ever since they left her house. Could they learn more? Not just about her culture, but about how she seemed to live with such balance, patience, and quiet strength. When Alex arrived, Maya was already outside, tending to her small garden. The early winter sun cast long shadows across the yard, highlighting the green and brown of the plants and the earth. The smell of soil mixed with faint herbs made the air feel alive and fresh. "Good morning, Alex," Maya said warmly, straightening from her work and wiping her hands on a cloth. "I wasn't expecting you so early." I thought I'd come by," Alex said, smiling nervously. "I wanted to maybe learn something from you today." Maya laughed softly, a gentle sound that seemed to blend with the quiet rustling of the leaves. "Well, you came to the right place," she said. "There is much to learn, but the first lesson is patience. Come, I'll show you something." She led Alex into her small kitchen, which smelled faintly of fresh herbs and warm bread. On the counter, several vegetables were neatly arranged, and Maya began to show Alex how to prepare a simple meal. But this was not just cooking, it was a lesson in life. She explained how to handle each ingredient with care, how to pay attention to small details, and how to find joy in the simple act of nourishing oneself and others. As Alex chopped, stirred, and followed her instructions, they noticed the calmness in Maya's movements. Every step was deliberate, thoughtful, and yet natural. She spoke about more than food, about life, patience, and the connection between people and the world around them. "See, Alex," she said gently, "even in something as simple as washing a carrot or kneading dough, there is a lesson. Life is in the details. If you rush through it, you miss it. If you take your time, you understand it." Alex nodded slowly. It was strange to think that something so ordinary could carry such meaning. They had spent years rushing through life, trying to finish tasks quickly, and rarely pausing to observe or reflect. Watching Maya work, they began to understand that mindfulness and care could make even the simplest task meaningful. After preparing the meal, they sat down to eat. Maya encouraged Alex to try new flavors, herbs, and combinations, explaining the significance behind each choice. As they ate, she talked about her childhood again, this time focusing on her parents' teachings. Her father had emphasized respect for the land and the people who lived on it, while her mother had taught her that kindness and generosity were never wasted. Alex realized that Maya's actions, the way she had helped them in their kitchen, were rooted in these values. Strength, Maya explained, is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is in offering a hand when no one asked for it, in listening when no one wants to speak, or in smiling when someone else feels lonely. Alex felt these words deeply. They remembered how small gestures in their life had gone unnoticed or unappreciated, yet they had the power to change someone's day. They began to reflect on their own behavior, their tendency to isolate themselves, and the walls they had built around their life. Over the next few weeks, Alex continued to spend time with Maya. They learned how to organize a kitchen efficiently, how to care for plants, how to observe the rhythm of a day instead of rushing through it. Each lesson was practical, yet carried a deeper meaning. Maya's gentle guidance taught Alex to slow down, to notice details, and to appreciate the simple things in life. One afternoon, as they worked together in the garden, Maya shared a story about how her community survived harsh winters and difficult times. "It was not easy," she said, "but we always had each other. When someone struggled, someone else would step in, not for reward, not for thanks, but because it was the right thing to do. And those acts, small as they were, built a bond that lasted a lifetime." Alex listened, captivated. They thought about their own life, the routines, the work, and the independence they had valued so much. For the first time, they realized that independence without connection could feel hollow, while connection without expectation brought a quiet fulfillment. Maya then shared a small ritual from her childhood, how they would take moments in the day to express gratitude, not through grand ceremonies, but through quiet acknowledgement. A smile, a shared meal, or a simple "thank you" was enough. Alex found themselves participating in these moments, feeling a warmth and joy they had not experienced before. As days turned into weeks, Alex noticed subtle changes in themselves. They began greeting neighbors more warmly, noticing small things that needed attention, and offering help where it was needed. At work, they found themselves more patient and understanding. At home, they took the time to cook, clean, and organize with care, finding satisfaction in each task. It was as though Maya had opened their eyes to a way of living that was both simple and profound. One evening, as they sat in Maya's kitchen, Alex asked, "How did you learn to live like this? So calm, so patient, so kind." Maya smiled, brushing her hands together. "It was not learned in a day. It comes from years of observing, listening, and practicing. From my parents, my community, and the land itself. But it is never too late for anyone to start." Alex felt a wave of hope. They realized that they could carry these lessons forward, not just in their interactions with Maya, but in their own life. They could choose patience over rush, connection over isolation, and care over indifference. Maya continued, "Every small action matters, Alex. Even something as simple as washing a dish, tending a plant, or offering a smile can change a person's life. And when you practice kindness without expecting anything, it comes back in ways you cannot imagine." Alex thought about the first day they had found Maya in their kitchen. At the time, they had been shocked, even a little embarrassed. Now they understood that it was a gift, a lesson wrapped in a simple act of care. They felt gratitude not just for the help, but for the wisdom that came with it. By the end of the day, Alex returned home feeling lighter, calmer, and more connected. They reflected on the practical lessons they had learned: how to care for their home, how to prepare meals with attention and love, and how to slow down and appreciate life's small moments. But more importantly, they understood the deeper lessons: patience, mindfulness, generosity, and the quiet power of human connection. Over time, these lessons became part of Alex's routine. They started noticing the small ways people interacted, offering help when they could, and accepting it without shame when needed. The world seemed brighter, more alive, and filled with opportunities for kindness and learning. And through it all, Maya remained a guide, a friend, and a reminder that life was not just about managing tasks or achieving goals. It was about how we treated each other, how we approached the world with respect and care, and how small, mindful actions could ripple far beyond what we could see. Alex realized that the most important lessons often came quietly, in ordinary moments shared with someone who had patience, wisdom, and an open heart. And in Maya, they had found not just a neighbor, but a teacher, a mentor, and a friend whose presence would continue to shape the way they lived, thought, and connected with the world around them. Weeks passed since Alex first found Maya washing dishes in their kitchen. What had started as a shocking, unexpected encounter had slowly turned into something meaningful. Alex's life began to feel different, lighter in ways they couldn't fully describe. The lessons Maya had shared, the patience, mindfulness, and quiet generosity, were no longer abstract ideas but actions that Alex started practicing every day. It began with small things. At home, Alex no longer rushed through chores. Cooking became a time to explore flavors and enjoy the process, not just a task to fill their stomach. They found themselves organizing their apartment with care, noticing details they had previously ignored, like dust on the shelves or wilting plants that needed attention. Even washing dishes, which had once felt like a mundane chore, became a moment of reflection, a way to slow down and appreciate the effort that went into every meal. But the lessons went beyond chores. Alex started observing the world around them differently. On the street, they noticed neighbors struggling with bags of groceries, cars blocking driveways, or small acts of kindness going unnoticed. Instead of walking past, Alex began offering help. A simple smile, a polite word, or a helping hand became part of their routine. At first, some neighbors were surprised, not used to such gestures, but gradually, Alex felt a sense of connection that had been missing for years. One afternoon, while carrying heavy groceries from the store, Alex remembered Maya's words: "Even the smallest acts can ripple through a community." They hesitated for a moment, then rang the doorbell of an elderly neighbor a few houses down. The woman, Mrs. Patel, opened the door with a startled look. "Oh, Alex, hello, what brings you here?" I noticed you had groceries," Alex said, smiling shyly. "Would you like some help bringing them inside? Mrs. Patel's face lit up with gratitude. "Oh, bless you, Alex, that's so kind. I would really appreciate it." As Alex helped her carry the bags and put them away, they felt a strange warmth in their chest, a mixture of satisfaction and humility. It wasn't about being praised or rewarded. It was about doing something that mattered, even in a small way. They realized Maya had been right. Kindness didn't need an audience or acknowledgement. Its impact was felt quietly, sometimes in ways that only revealed themselves later. That evening, Alex returned home and thought about how their perception of the neighborhood had changed. The streets no longer seemed empty or indifferent. They noticed families laughing on porches, children playing safely in yards, and even the simple beauty of a tree casting shadows on the sidewalk. Life felt fuller, more alive, and Alex knew that their own actions had contributed in a small way to this feeling. As days turned into weeks, Alex spent more time with Maya, learning deeper lessons about life. One afternoon, while sitting in her kitchen, Maya pulled out a small collection of handcrafted items, woven baskets, beadwork, and small tools her family had used for generations. "These were made by my ancestors," Maya explained. "They carry lessons, not just materials. Each knot, each bead, each line tells a story about patience, care, and respect." Alex held one of the baskets carefully, noticing the precision and thought that went into it. "It's beautiful," they said, "and it feels alive, like it has a spirit or energy in it." Maya smiled. "Exactly. When we create with attention and care, we put a piece of ourselves into it. It's the same with actions, words, and even thoughts. Everything leaves an imprint, whether we notice it or not." That day, Alex realized that every decision, no matter how small, mattered. How they treated people, how they approached tasks, and even how they carried themselves could leave an impact. Maya's lessons were not just practical. They were a philosophy of life, an approach that blended mindfulness, care, and humanity. Inspired by these lessons, Alex began reaching out more in the neighborhood. They organized small gatherings, inviting neighbors over for simple meals, just as Maya had taught them to value connection over formality. Some evenings, Alex would help neighbors repair fences, carry groceries, or share stories over tea. Slowly, the quiet, unspoken network of support that Maya had spoken about began to form around Alex's home. One chilly evening, as Alex and Maya were sipping tea on her porch, Alex asked, "Do you think small acts like this really make a difference?" Maya looked out at the street, her eyes thoughtful. "It may not be obvious at first. Sometimes the impact is felt years later or in ways we don't see. But yes, every small act matters. When people know that someone cares, even in a small way, it gives them strength, hope, and courage. And that energy spreads." Alex thought about the grocery trip with Mrs. Patel, the neighbors who had smiled back at them, and even the feeling of pride and calm after organizing their own home mindfully. They understood that Maya's words were true. Small acts, small gestures, and even moments of presence could ripple far beyond the moment they occurred. As the weeks passed, Alex noticed a change in themselves. They were less impatient at work, more understanding with friends, and more connected to the world around them. Life no longer felt like a series of tasks to complete. It was a living experience, full of opportunities to care, to help, and to grow. They found joy in things they had once ignored, watering plants, listening to birds, noticing the way sunlight fell through windows. Each moment felt more vivid, more meaningful, because Alex had learned to be present. One day, Maya invited Alex to join her for a walk through a nearby park. "I want you to see something," she said, leading them along a winding path lined with tall trees. As they walked, Maya pointed out plants, small animals, and even patterns in the soil. She explained how her ancestors read the land, understanding its cycles, rhythms, and needs. Alex was fascinated, realizing that living mindfully extended beyond the home into every interaction with the world. At a small clearing, they sat down on a log. Everything has a lesson, Alex, Maya said. Even silence, even stillness. The world teaches us if we are willing to pay attention. Alex nodded, feeling the truth of her words deep in their chest. They thought about how much they had rushed through life, how many moments they had missed because they were focused on the wrong things. Now, with Maya's guidance, they could see the beauty in simplicity, the value in connection, and the power in small, thoughtful actions. That evening, when Alex returned home, they felt a sense of gratitude and purpose. The world felt bigger and smaller at the same time. Bigger because it was full of opportunities to care and connect. Smaller because every act, every choice, and every gesture had meaning. They realized that Maya had given them more than lessons. She had given them a way to live that was calm, meaningful, and filled with purpose. Over the following months, Alex's transformation became more visible. Neighbors began to approach them for advice, small favors, or simply conversation. Alex welcomed these interactions, seeing them as opportunities to practice the lessons Maya had taught. They were no longer isolated. They were part of a quiet network of care and kindness that extended through the neighborhood. Maya watched these changes with quiet satisfaction. She knew that her role was not to control or instruct, but to guide and inspire. Alex had learned to observe, reflect, and act with care on their own. The ripple of their small actions was beginning to spread, showing how a single unexpected encounter in a kitchen could lead to a wave of kindness and connection. One evening, as Alex and Maya shared tea in the kitchen, Alex smiled and said, "I never imagined my life could feel like this. I used to think independence meant doing everything alone, but now I see it's about being part of something bigger too." Maya nodded. Exactly. Life is not just about what we do for ourselves. It's about how we touch the lives of others, even in ways we may never fully understand. Alex realized that the lessons Maya had taught were not temporary. They were a way of living, a philosophy that could guide them through challenges, joys, and the ordinary flow of everyday life. They felt a deep sense of connection, not just to Maya, but to the world, their community, and themselves. And in that realization, Alex understood something profound. True growth comes not from isolation, but from openness, kindness, and the courage to let others in. Life, they now knew, was richer, fuller, and more meaningful when shared, even in the smallest ways. The seasons began to change once more, and with them, Alex felt a transformation within themselves. What had started as a simple, shocking encounter, finding Maya washing dishes in their kitchen, had grown into a profound journey of understanding, learning, and connection. Alex now walked through their days with a sense of awareness and purpose that had been missing for years. The world no longer felt distant or routine. Every small act, every interaction, and every quiet moment seemed meaningful, as if life itself had opened its arms to show them a different way of living. It was a crisp morning when Alex decided to visit Maya, carrying with them a basket of fresh fruit from the market. Their steps were lighter than usual, and there was a quiet excitement in their chest. As they approached Maya's home, they noticed her tending to her garden, her hands gently moving over the soil as if coaxing life from it. She looked up and smiled, a warmth in her eyes that immediately put Alex at ease. "Good morning, Maya," Alex said, holding out the basket. "I thought we could share these together." Maya accepted it with a gentle nod, her expression full of kindness. "Thank you, Alex. That is thoughtful of you." They settled on the porch, enjoying the sunlight and the faint scent of earth and herbs. Alex felt a calmness that had become familiar in Maya's presence. Over the months, she had taught them not just practical lessons about cooking, cleaning, and gardening, but deeper lessons about life, patience, and human connection. Alex now understood that these were not just skills, they were a philosophy, a way of approaching the world with care, humility, and awareness. "You've changed, Alex," Maya said quietly, almost as if noticing the shift before Alex did. "There is a calmness in you now, a presence that wasn't here before." Alex smiled, feeling a quiet pride. I feel different. I see things differently. I notice people, moments, even small details I used to ignore. I feel like my life is fuller somehow. Maya nodded. That fullness comes from connection, from noticing the world around you and from offering yourself to it. The world responds when we engage with it, even in the simplest ways. Alex thought back to the first time they had seen Maya in their kitchen. At the time, they had been shocked, even a little embarrassed, but now they realized it had been the beginning of a journey they could never have anticipated. That single act of kindness had set in motion a series of lessons, reflections, and actions that had transformed their life in ways they were only beginning to understand. Over the following weeks, Alex continued to integrate Maya's teachings into every part of their life. They no longer rushed through their work or their home chores. They approached each task mindfully, finding satisfaction in doing things well and with attention. Cooking, once a mechanical task, became an act of creativity and care. Cleaning, once tedious, became a ritual of mindfulness. Even the smallest acts, watering plants, folding clothes, or arranging books, were now done with awareness and thoughtfulness. But the most profound changes were in how Alex related to other people. They noticed neighbors struggling or in need and offered help without hesitation. They checked in on Mrs. Patel regularly, bringing groceries or simply sitting and talking with her. They helped a young couple carry furniture into their home and guided a child who had gotten lost near the street. Each action, though small, created a ripple of connection that Alex could feel. The neighborhood seemed warmer, friendlier, and more alive, and Alex understood that their presence, care, and attention were part of that transformation. One afternoon, Maya invited Alex to sit with her and share stories about the neighborhood. "Do you see how things have changed?" she asked, her eyes scanning the street. Children waved to Alex as they played, neighbors nodded in greeting, and small acts of kindness seemed more frequent. Even your small gestures have influenced others. "This is the ripple effect I told you about." Alex smiled, a sense of satisfaction swelling in their chest. They realized that what Maya had taught them was not just about doing chores mindfully or helping neighbors. It was about living with intention, awareness, and generosity. Every action mattered, and even the quietest gestures had the power to influence lives in ways unseen. That evening, Alex reflected on the lessons they had learned over the past months. They remembered the first day, the shock of seeing Maya in their kitchen, the warmth of her smile, and the calmness of her presence. They thought about her stories of childhood, of the Apache community that had shaped her, and how every small act of care had built bonds stronger than words. They realized that life was not meant to be carried alone, and that true strength came from connection, generosity, and mindfulness. Alex also thought about the personal growth they had experienced. They were more patient, more thoughtful, and more present. They approached challenges at work with calmness, offered support to friends without expectation, and found joy in the ordinary moments of life. The change had not been dramatic or loud. It had been quiet, gentle, and profound. One evening, as they shared tea with Maya, Alex asked, "Do you ever think about what it would have been like if you hadn't come into my kitchen that day?" Maya smiled, her expression thoughtful. "I do sometimes, but I know life has a way of teaching us lessons when we are ready. That day you were ready to see, ready to learn, ready to grow. I was just a guide. The rest was yours." Alex nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. They realized that Maya had not just helped them with dishes or household tasks. She had opened their eyes to a way of living that was meaningful, connected, and full of purpose. Her influence had become part of who they were, shaping their actions, thoughts, and relationships in ways that would last a lifetime. As the winter gave way to spring, Alex noticed the neighborhood blooming in more ways than one. The streets felt friendlier, the air lighter, and the bonds between neighbors stronger. Alex had become a part of this change, quietly contributing through acts of care, attention, and presence. They no longer felt alone in the world. They felt part of a community, connected to people, nature, and life itself. Maya and Alex continued to meet regularly, sharing meals, stories, and quiet moments of reflection. Each meeting reinforced the lessons of patience, mindfulness, and generosity. Alex understood that these lessons were not just temporary, they were a way of life. They had learned to live in the present, to notice the small details, and to act with intention and care. One afternoon, as they sat on Maya's porch watching the sunset, Alex said, "I feel like my life has changed completely. I never knew it could feel like this. I feel connected, calm, and happy in a way I didn't know before." Maya nodded, a soft smile on her face. That is the gift of awareness and connection. When you live with intention, when you notice and care, life becomes richer. You have learned not just to live, but to live fully. Alex felt a profound sense of peace. They thought about the journey that had begun in their kitchen, the surprise, the confusion, and the lessons that had followed. They realized that life often presented its most meaningful experiences in unexpected ways, through small, quiet moments that could transform us if we were willing to notice and embrace them. In the days that followed, Alex continued to integrate these lessons into every part of their life. They helped neighbors, shared meals, nurtured their home, and found joy in simple tasks. They maintained a close bond with Maya, who remained a source of guidance, wisdom, and friendship. And through it all, Alex remembered that first day in the kitchen, not with shock or embarrassment, but with gratitude, understanding, and a recognition of how far they had come. The experience left Alex with a new perspective on life. They knew that kindness, mindfulness, and connection were not just ideals but practical ways to live. They had learned that every small action mattered, that generosity did not need reward, and that true strength often came from being open, compassionate, and aware. And so, as Alex walked through the neighborhood one evening, watching children play, neighbors greet each other, and the golden light of the setting sun cast shadows across the street, they felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Life, they realized, was full of lessons waiting to be discovered, friendships waiting to be formed, and moments of beauty and meaning that often arrived unexpectedly. Alex looked at Maya's house next door and smiled. The woman who had once simply washed dishes in their kitchen had changed their life forever. She had taught them that the ordinary could be extraordinary, that small acts could ripple through the world, and that connection, care, and mindfulness were the keys to a life truly well lived. In that moment, Alex understood the truth of Maya's teachings. Life was not just about routines, work, or achievements. It was about noticing, caring, and participating fully in the world around you. And most importantly, it was about allowing yourself to be touched, guided, and inspired by the kindness and wisdom of others. As night fell, Alex returned home with a heart full of gratitude. They knew that their journey had only begun, but they also knew that they were no longer alone. They had learned to live fully, to care deeply, and to see the world with open eyes and an open heart. And they knew that the simple, unexpected act of a neighbor washing dishes in their kitchen had been the start of a lifetime of lessons, friendships, and meaningful experiences that would shape them forever.